Hello everyone, my name is Joshua. This is the, 87th video on my video journal series. Today's date is Wednesday, the 6th of May, 2026. How's everyone been? I've been pretty good, thank you. And something I want to discuss with you today is waiting. Have you ever had that experience of where you're waiting in a line? It could be at Macca's or it could just be in a government department. And there's always that one person in front of you who just likes to take their petty little time, and they're like, oh, let me go through my push, and they're just like, trying to find a very specific thing. It could be a pen, it could be a form or whatever, or it could just be looking at the menu. um like a restaurant, for example, and like, I wonder what to get. It's always like that old lady in front, and you're like, come on, have you already made a decision? Because I am hungry. I want to eat now, and there isn't like any other team members up front counter. There's only one, even though there's two registers. So you gotta wait. Oh my lord! Like that's why whenever I go to fast food restaurants, when I go, usually I'll just like go on the app beforehand. I'm like, yeah, I want this. So then when I go to front counter, I'm like, yep, here's my order. I don't like stand there just going, I think it's just very, very annoying. And, um, government departments, I think, are the worst offenders because you got like, you know, sometimes you get like very short lines, but there's maybe like two people ahead of you, and you think, oh man, just like one more person, and then that person just spends like the next like 30 minutes just chatting to the person at the front counter, and I'm like, come on, it's like the illusion, all right? Oh, this is going to be a quick one. No, it isn't, because that one person is going to be the old lady who doesn't understand um, anything. Actually, most of it doesn't understand why she's there in the first place. But like um, those long lines at the DMV. I'm sure we've all gone through it. It reminds me of that scene from the movie Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, where Steve Martin's character um, goes to the marathon car rental desk with that lady, and he just like goes off. I'm all sure we've like at least thought of that in our minds. That scene where we just like have like a massive crash out. Obviously I can't recite that scene because it's got a bunch of like f bombs, but it's a very funny scene. I watched that movie Planes, Trains, and Automobiles with Steve Martin and John Candy, but I'm sure we've all, I guess, been there. Where you're waiting in a line and you might have like you know the team member or someone in front of you just like talk and chit chat. Not that I have like a problem with that, but if it's like a very long line, or if you just want to like get it done and dusted, I can sort of understand the anger. Um, and obviously patience is key in life, but I feel like patience can be tested at various points, like when you're hungry, for instance, or when you just want to like go in and out. Um, and I think, here in Sydney, obviously if you go to like the CBD, major city areas, obviously everything around there's time based, basically. Because when you're in the Sydney CBD, um, you know, you encounter a lot of workers, business um, men, people who really value their time. So I feel like a lot of businesses in the city are very like quick. If you go to McDonald's, uh, you know, in the city, right? I argue they'll be a lot more quicker than the ones you might get in the suburbs. Maybe that's a science experiment. Who knows? Because I always notice at the Macca's store in the CBD, they have a lot more staff. Now, all right. Well, part of it is due to the fact they're in a more busier location, bigger location. But even then, um, I never had to wait like ridiculous times. I think the busiest McDonald's I've been to was the one in Circular Quay, and I remember it did take a little while for my order, but yet again, it was like literally shoulder to shoulder. So that was like really impressive. And they're pretty quick in terms of the amount of customers that they receive. But when you go to like McDonald's stores in like the suburbs, I notice a little bit more slower. Maybe I should just like order a Big Mac from each location at like the exact same time of day, or I guess during the quote unquote off peak and peak hours and really do a science experiment on how long it takes to prep a Big Mac. Who knows? Um, but yes, I feel like in I guess the CBD areas, businesses will be tailored more towards, time and, self-service initiatives like Woolworths Metro, for example. Those like small Woolies store in the cities that they call Woolworths Metro or the Coles stores. Um, those have like a lot of self-service machines. So instead of waiting in line, you can just go to the self-service machines, grab what you need. I know Coles at Wynyard Station, instead of like having to wait in a line, inside of a store, they have like a grab and go section where you just grab a sandwich off the shelf, and then literally there's like a checkout register right next to it, like a self-serve checkout register, and all of that is outside of a store. It's actually near the public walkway, so you can just like open up the fridge, take a sandwich, pay for it, and you're like done and dusted within less than like 30 seconds. And that eliminates I guess process of waiting, and I think that's actually a very good idea. So one point to Wynyard Station if I'm having like a very good Coles there, but apart from that, I don't like Wynyard Station because I think it's just like a bootleg version of Town Hall. It used to have tram platforms, but now it's just a car park. And yeah, I guess obviously I'll consider myself a pretty patient guy. As long as I know like the estimation time of like when I first order something or where I first I guess wait in the line, I want to know how long I'll be waiting. I don't mind if it's like 10 or 20 minutes even, as long as I know it's coming. Because sometimes especially fast food places, they might like forget your order, and obviously you just need to be, I guess, clear. Like, hey, did you receive my order? Are you working on it? If you forgot my order, then here's my receipt, here's my proof, sort of thing. And sometimes, I think there are like a few times where they did quote unquote forget my order at McDonald's. And my mum is a very impatient person. Whenever I go to McDonald's with her, she will not wait for more than a minute. Like, she would expect it now. And I'm like, Mum, they have to make it. They have to make it. And I remember, like, my worst fear as a child was going through the drive-through with my mum at like any fast food establishment. And because I know, like, after a minute, she's gonna tell me to go into the store to check up upon the order. I'm like, Mum, it's only been 1 minute. Can you not send me as a mule inside of a store, please? It's just so embarrassing. Listen, maybe after like 10 minutes in drive through, maybe. But like, not 1 minute, alright? If you're a parent, please do not do that. You know what? Don't go through drive through. Just go in store, alright? Just go in store. But yet again, when I used to work in a fast food, we were always told to prioritize the drive-through first, which I think is a conspiracy theory because they always prioritize cars through drive-through so then they can get through more cars. Because if you have more cars blocking the drive-through, that means obviously it'll eventually clog up, the driveway, the car park. But it also means less customers you can serve. So since there's only one drive-through window juxtaposed to a front counter where there's like usually um, two registers where you can serve two people at once, or even as self-serve registers. That's why they prioritize the drive-through first. If your fast food restaurant has a drive-through, then you know it may or may not be quicker, but they always get prioritized over the in-store, I guess, front counter section, if you know what I mean. So I think that's kind of discriminatory. Like they should both equally prioritized. But some I guess sometimes they like say, oh yeah, can you just wait in like the car park for like your drive-through order? Um, you know, if it's taking a little bit too long. But apart from that, if you're waiting at the window, you expect it to come like pretty fast. Um, so yeah, if you're waiting at like I guess the final window at like a drive-through restaurant, you'll expect your order to come within like less than a minute. But if you get sent to, like, I guess the car park, then you might have to wait like 5 minutes. Yet again, I don't mind. But when I'm with my mom, like try not to get fast food with my mom anymore. But if that's the unfortunate case, then I'm just gonna order like the smallest thing on the menu. Just like a regular fries or something. Um, and I don't mind waiting as long as I know it's coming. As long as I know they got my order, and you know, I guess if it's like hot and fresh, I don't mind. Sometimes I have to wait, quite a bit for fast food to arrive. But when it comes hot and fresh, like that's the only thing that matters in my eyes. You don't want to get food after like 20 minutes and it's just like soggy and you know unappetizing. You at least want it to be nice. And I used to remember, when you work in fast food, some people wouldn't mind waiting, 10 minutes or even like 15 or more minutes just so that you can get like a fresh new batch of food. So some people are like patient. But when you work in fast food, obviously people are hungry, so their patience for waiting is going to be diminished. I think that when it comes to like the most, I guess, you know, patient thing, um, most probably has to be government departments, Like you need a lot of patience to go for a government department. Or like even just phoning up a bank. I've had, directory inquiries with banks and all that where you just want to phone up a bank and maybe like um, inquire how much money you have in your bank account or change a password or just change some details, and you have to wait like 30 minutes before you get redirected to a call center. Um, so it does take a while. Um, and that's, you expect for like the big banks here in Australia that they'll have like more call centers, either domestic or abroad, where um, they can help more customers per minute, but clearly they don't, because I think the last time I called a bank would have been years ago, but you had to wait like, yeah, 30 minutes for it. um Man, I've called New South Wales Trainlink to manage bookings and all that. They're pretty quick. But yet again, I guess a lot more smaller and a lot less people use it. But yeah, I guess it depends what, I guess, government or big bank department you're calling, or just really any big business department you're calling. Because depending on which time of day you do, it can really it can. Oh, can I speak my English today? It can really be fast or slow. Fast or slow. So yeah, I guess patience is key when you're trying to call up your bank or trying to go through any government department on the phone. Press one for this option. Press two for redirectories. Press three for all of the above. Sort of thing. Um, I guess it's not all of the above. It's like press three for other options, and you always press three because you always want to get redirected to a human and not a bot. Um, Man, yeah, I guess you know, that's how patience works. You gotta wait, and you often waste maybe 40 minutes just to get like a 2 minute phone call with a physical human being, and sometimes like you know I've had to wait like pretty long lines at the grocery store, especially when you got one item and the grocery store doesn't have like any self serve checkout machines, and you just want to grab like a chocolate bar or something, and the person in front of you is doing like a full shop. It's even got to the point where like people, they see what you have and they're like, "Oh, do you want to go in front of me? Because you want to take like a couple of seconds, just versus a couple of minutes." So there's that courtesy which I appreciate. Um, but I've also like I don't understand the argument of why people are so vigorously opposed to self-serve checkout machines and lanes. I think they're a great idea. I don't think they should completely replace the, I guess, human checkout people, but they should be a nice alternative. Because let's say if you go to a grocery store and you just want to pick up like a few things, just a chocolate bar, a drink, and then you're like stuck in a 10-person queue where everyone in front of you is doing a full shop. So you end up spending like 5 minutes in line just to buy a chocolate bar, you know? So that's where the self-serve checkout machines come. They greatly reduce lines and wait, and you know, yeah, I'm just grateful that we have them, especially in those like Metro, like Woolies Metro stores and Coles Metro, whatever. Um, they have a lot more self-serve machines, and you don't have to speak to anyone, which is good. But um, yeah, it depends what you name them in your country, like 5 items or less, or express out lanes or whatever. And despite that, you always get people who has like a full shop, like a full trolley worth of goods, who still use the self-serve checkout. Like, come on. Like, if there's a human checkout, then bring your trolley over there, if you know what I mean. Um, but yeah, I guess you know. Um, Here in Sydney, at least, it is mildly infuriating just trying to move around, I guess, the city. Now we're just branching into time. I guess it takes a lot of patience to, I guess, take public transport here in Sydney sometimes. Because if you want to go to, like, from where you live, like in the, I guess, inner or outer suburbs of Sydney to the CBD, it's quite efficient. There's a lot of train lines that go into the Sydney CBD proper. But if you're even in the CBD and you want to go to, like, for example, Circular Quay to Broadway, which isn't a very long distance, maybe in a straight line it'll be like 2 or 3, maybe like 2 or 3 kilometers. Um, but if you want to go from like the Circular Quay to Broadway, you got to catch a tram from Circular Quay to, oh man, you'll most likely have to catch it to like uh, Haymarket. Um, yeah, that'll be like your closest stop, and then after that, you gotta like either catch a bus or walk the remaining distance, and all that time, including the tram trip and walking or even bus, will most likely take you around a solid half hour for a trip that's like, half an hour by public transport is the exact same time it takes to travel from Parramatta to Central Station. So imagine it this way: to travel from Circular Quay to Broadway will most likely take half an hour in total, depending on like how fast of a walker you are and waiting times. But I think it will be safe to say maybe 25 minutes to half an hour. Meanwhile, to go from a train between Parramatta to Central, which is a distance of, I believe, 15 kilometers, juxtaposed to the 3 kilometers between, I guess, um, Circular Quay to Broadway. Um, yeah, it's quite a big difference. It's like, yeah, Parramatta to Central is maybe like 25 minutes. It's roughly around the same time, but the distance is um, very big distance. It's a very noticeable difference. So, yeah, here in Sydney, traveling long distances is a lot more efficient than traveling in short distances. So, you really got to have that sort of patience. And even moving around the city, with all the uneven pavements, um, you know, um, I guess the CBD isn't really quote unquote car centric, but you often have to walk very long distances because waiting for a bus could often take a lot longer than just walking. Um, and the fact about really like a spread out city, so even trying to commute to the inner city areas, for instance, if you want to go to like suburbs like Abbotsford, that's only accessible by like bus and ferry at the moment. Um, yeah, it is quite hard to move around Sydney. It's a little bit annoying. I used to remember when I was in Tokyo, um, during my first trip to Japan, it was very easy to walk around that city. Everything felt like very close together. Even for long distances, you just take the train. And here in Sydney, I guess it depends where you live, but um, there's some, I guess, things that irritate me slightly. I wish they just built a light rail line along Broadway. It will make getting to Broadway much more easier, from Central. Because if you want to go from Central to Broadway, where all the Broadway shops are, or even where UCIT is, um, yeah, you got to take a bus or just walk, which is really annoying because the bus is always overcrowded, and then walking, well, you got to walk a pretty long distance. Um, so yeah, it does require a lot of patience, and yeah, even Sydney side paths, they're always like just really uneven. There's like, it makes it really hard to walk along these narrow street paths. Sometimes you can like trip over. It's not flat at all. It's quite like bumpy. So it is what it is. And um, yeah, I guess like, oh, excuse me, I'm getting a little bit tired, am I? I guess like, patience is a very good thing to have, but I feel like, you know our patience can be tested. Um, and I feel like, you know there definitely needs to be, I guess, improvements within the, I guess, the waiting system, if you know what I mean. Sometimes when a fast food restaurant's really busy, they don't do orders in terms of who ordered first, but rather which one's the quickest to do. And I think that makes sense. People will sometimes be a little bit peeved, saying, "Hey, I ordered on this guy ordered an ice cream. I ordered my um, Big Mac meal. Why did you get his ice cream first, even though I ordered first?" Well, that's because the ice cream is easier to make, and the quicker they're making the ice cream, the quicker they can get to your order. Um, you know, so I guess I can understand if they want to do the quickest one first. Um, but yet again, though, uh, the point of, I guess, of the line is to reserve your spot. So if you get like a bunch of people picking up their food and then you're just waiting for your food, it does feel a little bit, I guess, annoying. But yet again, though, I'll just choose, or I just want the quickest option. I don't care if they want to make the ice creams first. As long as I can get my order within a reasonable time frame, that's all that matters. I'm patient like that. Um, and I'm always patient with public transport as well. That's why I always come extremely early to like events and all that, because I'm quite used to commuting by public transport, and I'm very patient with our public transport system. I love it. I think it's a good system, but yet again, it does need some improvement. And um, I'm always patient with public transport. Usually, I have to account for delays and um, traffic and all of that, and the fact that I have to walk. But I've gotten used to it. Oh, excuse me. And you know, I guess people who take cars, value maybe time a little bit more than people who might take public transport. I guess it depends where you live, but I know some people who would just insist on driving everywhere because they're like, it'll be too long by public transport, and they're right. But like at the same time, with cars, you're trying to like find a place to park for like most of the time, which is annoying. And they can be quite expensive. So yeah, I just like really love the walkability of Tokyo within Sydney. Because yet again, I found Tokyo and a lot of the cities and towns I went to in Japan very walkable. Um, and it was like, it didn't feel like a burden trying to walk from one point of the city to another. But here in Sydney, um, you know, it's such a massive city, and even just walking down a couple of blocks and all that. Oh, excuse me. Oh, excuse me, I'm about to fall asleep. But yeah, even walking a couple of blocks, it can be challenging sometimes. It requires a lot of patience because there's always going to be people in front of you who walk really, really slow, and with like a massive group of people who are taking up like the side path. And I'm like, all right, why don't you just move over to the left? Have you ever been to primary school where they say, all right, everyone, keep to the left so then public can walk by and you're not blocking everyone? Why can't people do that anymore? Just keep to the left. I always used to remember we used to get like roasted about it in primary school, but clearly, you always get that groups, and I'm like, come on, you just gotta nudge your way through. And I guess, you know, I guess walkability within the CBD is pretty good, but yet again, near the outer suburbs and all of that, which I've been to. It is quite hard, especially when there's like roundabouts with like no pedestrian crossings. Um, so it makes it like really hard to cross, or just like car centric infrastructure. Um, roads without sidewalks and all that. Um, it really makes it hard for pedestrians to get to where they need to be because I am a pedestrian. I don't really drive cars, and it's annoying having to wait for cars. It takes a lot of patience to wait for cars. I tell you, um, yeah, and I guess um, that's where my patience can really be tested when it comes to cars and all that because I spend a lot of, I guess, minutes and maybe hours, of my life just wasted waiting for cars at traffic lights, waiting for cars at roundabouts, waiting for cars, waiting for cars just at like an intersection, but there's no like pedestrian um, infrastructure there at all, really, like a zebra crossing or a refuge island or something like that. Um, and yeah, like some people are impatient, some people they jaywalk and all of that, but I think good and inclusive design should be, um, you know, some way of crossing the road without having to break the law. Um, you know, so yeah, that's just my thought. And really, to end this video off, yet again, patience. Um, it varies amongst people. You could be like my mum, who has like zero patience, but you could be like me, who has a lot of patience. And yet again, it's always good to have patience. It's always good to, I guess, understand why certain things are taking longer than expected. But at the same time, I feel like patience can be tested. We're only human, all right? Like, if we're hungry and want the food now, we want the food now, but obviously don't go off at any stuff or anything like that. Just ask politely. I just want to keep track of my order. Do you know how long it'll take? Um, if you got, I guess, a problem or something like that, maybe just keep it to yourself. Unless like the food is like really bad quality, then you might want to return it or get a refund or something, or get an exchange. You're not going to return it. They're not going to serve it to the next guy or gal. Uh, Anyone really? Not even, I guess, the dogs, stray dogs outside. They wouldn't need after you sort of thing, because it's unhygienic. So yeah, I guess in that sense, um, yeah. So I guess in that sense, um, where was I, man? Before I started making all the jokes, I had a really good point. Oh yeah, I guess like keep it to yourself, except if the food's like really cold or whatever, then you can most probably like get a refund or exchangement. But apart from that, yeah, I reckon patience is a very good thing in life. And I feel like, oh, sorry if I've been yawning too much in this video. I don't know what's been happening. It's just late at night, so that's why I'm wrapping this up early. Yeah, I guess patience is key. But yet again, though, patience really, I guess, reflects our ability to understand and wait for certain things to occur. Because here's my little wise quote of the day, and not everything will come to you right at this time, all right? Sometimes in life, you're going to be patient with things, right? You're going to be patient to buy a house, buy a car, or even just to go out to like a major event, like whenever a new concert is announced for like a band, I have to be very patient and wait months and months, just for like, I guess, um, for me to go to that concert, but also to purchase tickets and all that. You sometimes you got to be patient, um, and wait for tickets to go on sale. Sometimes you're in that online waiting room for like hours and hours, and then you might not get the chance of actually, you know, actually getting the tickets. And you feel like, oh, your patience was wasted, your time was wasted. Um, but with patience, eventually comes reward. So I mean, I remember when ACDC announced their Australian tour last year. I was very, very patient. I was patient for like many years of my life as an AC/DC fan, and when I heard that, I was like, man, I'm just gonna buy tickets day one, and luckily I did buy tickets. I went to that concert in November, but I had to wait like because I think I got the tickets in like April or May, so I had to wait like nearly half a year. I think it was like maybe like 5 months for that concert to happen. So I was really patient. But yeah, it paid off. I think one of the best concerts I've been to in my life. But yeah, that's my little life lesson for today. Is not everything um, is going to come to you all at once, and why shouldn't you know? Like things are, I guess, things come to you. I guess. Um, um, Things come to you gradually. Yes, I don't know why I forgot the word gradually. Things come to you gradually throughout life. Um, and, I feel like impatience can sometimes break that sort of order, break that Jenga tower of progress and, um, I guess, respect. And I think impatience is like a natural human emotion, something to be wanted now, um, regardless of what the price is or if it's beneficial to us in the present, right now. But yet again, though, I've learned to be patient when it comes to, I guess, um, not just waiting for concerts, but, patient with everything, patient with my studies, patient with whenever I get fast food. Patient when I'm waiting in the government department line or on the phone because eventually I'll know it will come, and that feeling is going to be a very good feeling. And I guess patient when you're listening to others, when you're um, showing respect, and when you're at church or places where I guess respect is highly valued. With patience comes respect and a lot of other good things. So yeah, um, I'll say yeah. Don't, I guess, try to accelerate the future too much. I mean, I did say before that I think the present is most probably the most forgotten or relegated out of the major three, I guess, quote unquote, time periods, that is being the past, present, and future. We're very focused on the past and present. Sorry, we're very focused on the past and future, but not really the present. So yeah, it's all about living in the moment and just like being, all right, what can I do now to be patient? Um, just focus on the present and focus on, I guess, learning from the past, planning to the future, but acting in the present. That's a very good quote. I'm not claiming ownership of that because maybe someone else has already come up with a better version of that. Anyway, that's all I have to say, and I guess I'll see you all next time. Bye. See you. Take care. See you tomorrow.